in Thessaloniki is a mix of tiny alleys, traditional houses, and stunning sea views, making it one of the city's most beautiful corners. The architectural style of Thessaloniki's Anopoli, meaning upper town, will take you back to the Byzantine era and enchant you with its beautiful streets, views, and houses. Those in ruins are just as picturesque, rich in both crumbling architectural detail and in contemporary street art adorning their walls. Older residents help preserve the neighborhood's intimate character, too. Due to its location, Anopoli was the main fortress of the city with defensive structures Eptapergio, Trigonian Tower, which were created during the Byzantine and Ottoman period. Much of the Byzantine walls that surrounded Thessaloniki have been preserved and now form the jewel of the Acropolis of Thessaloniki. High above the main town, it escaped the Great Fire of 1917 and remains the same enchanting labyrinth that it has been for centuries. Standing under the Trigonian Tower, once the city's upper gate, it's easy to see why Anopoli in Thessaloniki was the city's favored neighborhood for centuries. The forest is to your left, and the whole of the Thermikos Bay is stretched out beneath you. Take a stroll through the cobblestone streets, surrounded by small beautiful Ottoman-style houses, and enjoy spectacular panoramic views of Thessaloniki and the Thermikos Gulf, especially at sunset. Don't forget to have lunch in the small taverns with reasonably priced traditional cuisine. Some of them, such as chai nori and English, count over a century of life. Souvenirs can also be found in small tourist shops in the area, near Portara and Trigonian Tower. Looking a little closer at the Byzantine walls, you can see the borders of the old city because of the fortification which survives in many parts of the city. Take some time to explore the old Byzantine church of Agios Nikolaos and the monastery of Vladids, which were built in the 14th century AD. It is one of the oldest and most interesting buildings to be found in Anopoli. Today, many historic buildings have been restored or rebuilt, preserving the Byzantine spirit and many of its beautiful mansions. And if you're looking for still more nature, you can hike parts of the extensive trail system running through the Sheikh Su forest that borders Anopoli's northeastern edge. Anopoli in Thessaloniki can be reached on foot if you like walking, or by bus number 22 and number 23. Going up the labyrinth-like streets might be tiring, but the good food and stunning views will make up for it. Anopoli is enclosed within the ancient city walls. A UNESCO World Heritage Site, the Byzantine-era fortifications were erected to shield inhabitants and property from enemy attack. Today, the walls bear the weight of those they've sheltered and shelter still. One can imagine these fortifications having eavesdropped on their wards throughout history. Among these are the Heptapergian seven-towered fortress, the Trigonio Tower, the Gardens of the Pasha, the Church of Agios Nikolaos Orphanos the Orphan, the Church of Hosios David, and the Vladidon Monastery. You can rest in one of the many cafes and taverns of the area and enjoy food, overlooking the city. The basic characteristics of all the historical periods of Thessaloniki, and especially the Byzantine one. The glorious Byzantine cultural heritage of Thessaloniki is wonderfully reflected in the picturesque cobbled streets, the well-kept and glorious Byzantine temples, and the walls of the Acropolis in Anopoli, which absolutely justify the pinnacle of power in the city during the years of Byzantium. And it is a fact that in the historical urban fabric of Anopolis, a spectacular journey takes place in the Byzantine past of the city, and the special historical profile of Thessaloniki is revealed, which, although it deservedly won the title of co-ruling city in the Byzantine years, remains a real queen in the hearts of all its inhabitants and visitors. Come, then, to discover together, through charming routes in the picturesque neighborhoods and selected monuments of Anopolis, the reasons why the area is culturally and historically considered the most interesting area of Thessaloniki, full of unique images and surprises for everyone. The walls, Triangle Tower, and Eptapergio. Following the traces of the impressive Byzantine fortification, which are preserved, almost intact, in the area of Anopoli, the imposing fortification of the Acropolis is revealed to the eyes of every visitor, perfectly integrated, today, in the modern urban fabric of the city. Two large gates, the portares, lead to the inside of the Acropolis, which always served as the last refuge of the inhabitants in cases of conquest of the city. Next to the eastern portara, which leads outside the walls, is the gate of Empress Anna Palaeologina, giving direct access to the Triangle Tower, also known as the Chain Tower. Impressive and extremely imposing, this cylindrical tower, built at the same time as the White Tower, is located on the most impressive balcony of the city, offering a panorama that takes your breath away and compensates the senses. At its highest point, the Acropolis returns from the fortress Eptapergio, the famous Genti Cowl, a monumental complex of the Paleologan era, consisting of the fortified enclosure with 10 towers. Memories of recent Greek history are awakened in the impregnable fortress of Thessaloniki, as the monument, in its long history, was transformed, among other things, into a place of imprisonment and concentration of political prisoners, to later acquire the archaeological and historical status, which today, they highlight it as the top historical attraction of the city. Latimu Monastery, St. David. Through narrow and labyrinthine cobbled streets, stone stairs, and flowery picturesque squares of Anopolis, close to the only Vlatata, the visitor is led to the monastery of Latimuor, in other words, to St. David, hidden, literally, from the surrounding houses, which surround the brilliant Byzantine monument. The monastery, which owes its name to the marble quarries that existed in the area in the past, is a true jewel of the Byzantine history of Thessaloniki and a monument which arouses global interest for the amazing mosaic that adorns its interior. The vision of Ezekiel, as this particular mosaic is known in Byzantine art, symbolizes the greatness of God, presenting for the first and only time the figure of Jesus as a rude teenager, in the type of the corresponding ancient Greek statues of classical beauty, following the precepts of Byzantine art. A multitude of symbolisms, in combination with the bright, exquisite colors of the mosaics, masterfully convey the image of paradise and convey in a completely understandable way the greatest lessons of the Orthodox Christian faith. The frescoes